Hello and welcome to the second spreadsheet session based around Microsoft Excel 2010. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm just going to double click on this spreadsheet just to open it up. We're going to have a quick recap of what we went over in the first session, just a very brief recap. And then we're going to go on to start looking at formulas, and formulas are obviously the major part of Excel. A lot of people don't tend to use many formulas. We're just going to do some basic ones today. But once you've got the theory of how you use a formula, then you can really just go wild. Once you're comfortable with how basic formulas work, then you can just build these things up and get ever more complex and intricate. So just a quick recap, very quickly, all the cells can be referred to by cell reference. So here on the screen at the moment, cell A1 is highlighted. If I just click on a different cell, this one's B4, you always put the column name first and the row second. So this is C5. Quick tip is that columns go vertically and rows go horizontally. And we looked a lot last week at all of the different formatting options, which I'm not really going to cover again. And the only other thing to remember is there's essentially three different types of things that you can put into a cell. You can put in some text, you can put in some numbers, and this week we're going to look at the other thing that you can do, which is a formula. Okay? Now, the first thing to pick up and to remember, and I'm going to burn this into your brains today, is that all formulas always start with the equal sign. Okay? That is the rule. When you press the equal sign, or when you type an equal sign, Excel interprets anything that you type after that as a formula. And a formula might sound a little bit threatening, it might sound a little bit sort of, I don't know, maybe chemistry based or very technical, but it's just like using a calculator. It's just exactly the same. In fact, you can do sums exactly as you would. The only difference being, like I say, you start with the equal sign. You sort of start with the last bit, okay? And what you're saying, so you can see here, I'm in cell C7, and you can see that I've started with the equal sign, and then I've written 2 plus 2. And you can also see that at the top of the screen here, and this is called, you can see this little fx, this is the function bar or formula bar. And all this is saying is put the result, display the result of this formula. Okay? So we all know that 2 plus 2 equals 4. So I'm going to press return. And you'll see that what is displayed in the formula, in the cell C7, is the number 4. Conversely, what's displayed up here in the formula bar, because I've started editing it, also it changes it. So let me click away from it so it doesn't. So you can just see. But look up here at the top in the formula bar, you see the formula, so equals 2 plus 2. If you look at the actual cell on the sheet, you see it equals 4. Okay? So when you start writing formulas, when you want to amend them, you actually have to come back up here and change things in here. So if we wanted to say 2 plus 3, I make the change at the top. You can see the change being written immediately into C7, and then when I press return, I get my answer of 5. Okay, so the difference is you would normally write this 2 plus 2 equals. Okay, but that's just text. Okay, that's just coming up as text. So you must remember to start with equals and then write whatever you want to write, 2 plus 4. Okay, and it doesn't really matter, it's not going to confuse you that much if the equal sign is on one end or the other, really. So equals 2 plus 4, the answer is 6. Okay, written that way is just some. Excel is not going to ever try and add that up. Excel thinks you're just writing something. It knows no difference between this and where I've written the word text above. So that's the start of formulas. Okay, so I think we can agree that that's pretty easy going. Let's do another one. Okay, let's do a subtraction. So let's do equals 4 minus 2. Okay, again, the answer is going to be 2, and that's just going to pop that in there straight away. So I just press return. And you can see there that obviously 4 minus 2 is 2. So those two are easy, plus and minus, no problem whatsoever. Let's do multiplication. Now, at school, you probably had the x. You probably used that as times, okay? Sometimes it's written with a decimal point. Occasionally, you might see sums written like that. So that's 34, or that could be written as 34.12. Sometimes people use the dot notation to mean multiplication. But in Excel, okay, and in pretty much most computing, we use the star. And the star looks a lot like the times key anyway. So if we go 2 times, let's do 3, just to make it a bit of. So the multiply there is the star key. On my computer keyboard, it's above the number 8. It may vary from keyboard to keyboard. And again, I press return and it pops the number 6 in. Okay, so I think that was quite easy, because it looks quite a bit like the x that we use to multiply, it's just a little bit more of a fancy x. The one that can catch people out sometimes, until they know it, is the divide symbol. Now the divide symbol is simply the forward slash. Okay, so let's do equals 10 divided by 2. Okay, and you'll see that that answer comes out at 5. So just a quick run through then again of the symbols. We've got the plus, we've got the minus, we've got the multiply, which is the star, and we've got the divide, which is the forward slash. Okay. If you've got a numeric keypad on your keyboard, typically on the right-hand side, that's there obviously for people that are typing in a lot of numbers every day. And what you'll actually notice is if you look around the edge of the keyboard, you've probably got a plus, a minus, a star, and a forward slash, or as we'll now call them, the multiply and divide symbols. Okay, and so a quick, easy way to remember is that the numeric keyboard is sort of like it's separated off to be like a calculator, to be able to type in a lot faster. And so because it's a calculator, they've given you the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division operators, I think they're called. So that's there. Let's have a look on this sheet. Just a quick recap that we looked at sheets last week, and so we're using that this week. So we've got different things laid out on different sheets. Okay, and so the one I was using before was the introductory sheet, say, and at the moment we're now looking at simple calculations, and we'll go on later on to look at the budget example and some instructions for later. So let's what we've also done here, again, we've just covered a couple of ideas of other things you can do. I've inserted a image in here, okay, and remember that whenever you insert images, the toolbar at the top changes, so you can see. So this particular style that I've just clicked on very quickly, you can see that it does a little reflection. So the divide that's at the bottom of the screen there is just reflected. These are just sort of pretty things that just pretty up the document a little bit. We've also added some arrows. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of sort of predefined artworks, and these arrows can go in any direction and point anywhere you want to. I'm just going to undo that. Control Z. So let's have a quick look at these formulas one more time. So this will just enable us to see both the formula and the result at the same time. Okay, so we'll just fly through these very quickly. Equals 10 plus 5, hit return, hit enter, sorry. And there's the result. Slight bit of lag just because my computer's running this virtual machine. The next one was subtraction, so that was 10 minus 5, hit return. We've got multiply, which is equals 10 star 5. And finally we've got divide, which is equal 10 divide 5. So those are all the answers that we would expect to see. And I think by now the basics of what we're doing there should be fine. But that's not really the power of Excel. Just that's using it completely as a normal calculator. Where the power of Excel comes from is instead of typing the numbers in directly, is to refer to the cells in which they live. Okay, so let's make a little bit of sense of that little statement. You can see here, we've massively stretched out these cells, by the way, so don't panic about that. Just like before, you can come up to the in between cells A and B, or any cells B and C, and the cursor will change, and you can grab that and move that around. Okay. So in cell A20, the number 10 is written. In cell A21, the number 15 is written. Okay. Now let's do those same formulas that we did before, but instead of, in fact, I'm actually going to change that to 5 instead of 15. I think that matches the earlier formulas, 10 plus 5. Okay, so let's have a look. What have we got here then? So I want to add these two cells together. So last time, I'll just quickly repeat it, I did equals 10 plus 5. Now, instead, I know that in cell A20 is the number 10, and in cell A22 is the number 5. So let's just add those cells. So let's say A21, or let's say A20 even. Now, did you see what happened there? This is a very important thing. I immediately knew that I got that wrong. In fact, let's even get it wrong again. I immediately knew that I wanted to add A20, but I saw this big blue box appear around A21. And you can see that written in blue, my formula says A21 in blue. And this is a visual clue here to do exactly what I just did. I mean, it doesn't matter that if I start with A21, you don't have to start with A20, but I just want to start with A20 and then add A21 to it. But I immediately saw that I put the box around the wrong area. And that's exactly why these are colour-coded, and I'll show you it again here. So A20, quick visual glance, check, it's like a mental check, yes, that's the right box. Now I'm going to add to that A21. Now look what happens here. A21, just move my cursor out of the way slightly, is written in green. And we can see a green box around A21. So now I've got different colours to denote the different cells, and these are just there just to, as a visual cues that I'm getting everything right. So I'm just going to press return. And you can see we get the same answer, or the answer we'd expect, 15. So this is the great power, okay? So let's do a subtract. So let's do equals A20 subtract A21. Okay, again, we get the visual boxes there just to remind me that I'm in the right place, or just to confirm I'm in the right place. Excellent, I get the answer 5. Let's do this same sum, or do the multiply sum, but let's just do it in a slightly different way. This time, always start with equals. I mean, you can't get around that. I'm going to start with equals, but now I'm going to take my mouse and I'm going to click on the parts of the of the cells that I want to use, and watch what happens. So I click on cell A20 and it fills in A20 for me, which is lovely. I know this is going to be a multiplier. I have to go back to the keyboard to do the multiply symbol. And what am I going to do? I'm going to multiply that by A21. I'm going to click on cell A21. You can see it gets filled in correctly in the formula bar. This time it's less easy to see the matching colour for the current cell you're selecting, because it's clicked, it's sort of, they refer to these things as the marching ants, just a typical selection. So let's press return, let's check that we get the right answer. We do, 50. Let's do that one again using clicking the mouse. So the procedure is as follows. I press equals, brings up or tells Excel I'm going to do a formula. Then I'm going to say click on A20, then I'm going to hit divide, then I'm going to click on A5, and you can see that this could actually be quite a fast process. And we get the result 2. Okay, so exactly the same sums as we were doing before. Let's exactly the same sums as we were doing before. But here's the really clever ability of Excel. I'm going to change one of the values here. Okay, I'm going to change this 5 to 15. And watch when I press return, which I haven't pressed yet, but watch what happens to all of our results. They immediately change. And this is the beauty of Excel. The beauty is we've got loads of different formulas going on here, all referring to those cells. Now let's just see. So look, A20 plus A21 does now equal 25. If you subtract 21 from 20, if you subtract A21 from A21 from A20, you do get minus 5 because you're subtracting 15 from 10. If you multiply the two together, you now get 150. If you divide them, it goes in 0.66 times. Yeah, it's very powerful. It's, you know, I'm going to change this number to say 250. Press return, and straight away, all of my answers immediately update. And that's the beauty. The beauty is you can make quick changes. You set it up in the right way. You change one thing, and all your other formulas change. It's not like using a calculator, whereby you then have to go and type them all in again. Everything they're called, it's live. Excel is continually with every one. Here in this cell in A24 where I've written this simple A20 plus A21, it's constantly looking at A20, it's constantly looking at A21, it's going, does it change? Has it changed yet? Has it changed? And if it changes, it immediately updates the answer. Okay, so that's a really powerful feature that you've got, and the powerfulness of it will be more evident as we start using other things. Now, let's move ahead now. So we've done all the very basic. Operators, the addition, subtraction, multiplication. But I'll show you in fact, let me go to the budget example here, and I'll show you a potential problem with one of the ones that we've used, just so that you get an idea. So this is a pretend budget. So let's add up all of the things we've got here in our budget. Okay, so how do we start formulas? Well, we start with equals. Now let me, so these are all in the B column. B1 is obviously the month. So let's see, B2 is food. So I'm going to type in B2, and then I'm going to add to that B3. Oops, I made a little mistake there. But this is sort of proving my point. B4, B5. Notice we're getting all these different colours. We've got blue, green, purple, brown, B6. So, you know, a different shade of green there, plus B7, orange, plus B8. Excellent. Hit return, 1302, which I'm pretty sure is right. Looks roughly right, doesn't it? Anyway. But that formula that we've just typed in, although correct, was a bit of a pain. And you could make mistakes, and you might not notice them. You could accidentally go B4 twice, or something like that, or miss a number out. So it's not wrong, but maybe there's a better way of doing it, and it turns out there is. So I'm just going to delete that formula, and I'm going to do exactly the same formula again, but with a lot less. I mean, oh, and by the way, let me just show you. I could have done it with clicking, so we might find clicking a bit easier. I'm putting one hand over the plus button, and I'm going to take my mouse, and I'm going to go click plus click plus click plus click plus click plus click plus click equals. Okay, so that was much faster, but still we've got this big formula, and that's actually, you know, that really is quite long as formulas go. We don't need to use it that, so let me just show you a potential other way of doing this. So let's go. So all formulas always start with equals, however we're doing it. But let's just sum them up. Let's just add up the different formulas. And the way you do that is you use the word sum. Okay? So I've written the word sum here. And what I'm basically going to say is add up everything from the start number I give you to the end cell reference I give you. So we're going to add up everything. So the first cell reference would be this one, would be B2. Okay? And the last one is B8. So we want to say sum B2 to B8. And we just have to do one additional thing to that, and we just have to put what we're summing in brackets. It's just a way of, you know, you used to use brackets in maths before, and you know, they would just like always do this bit first. So I'm just going to do my sum. So I'm going to say B2 Again, we get the little blue box just to show me that I'm in the right place. And then the way you say, we don't just write B8, we put a colon, and the colon means from here to here. Yeah, so from B2 to B8. And what you'll actually notice is that the box has got a lot bigger. It's stretched to encompass everything that we want to fit, everything we want to include. So I'm going to do a right bracket now, just to be neat and tidy. Finish off, if you open a bracket, you must close one. In fact, Excel's that kind, I think it even will let you off if you don't close it, but you should get into the habit of it. And there you go, we've got the same answer again, 1302. Now look at that formula, sum, you know, B2 to B8. Once you understand what the word sum does, then you can you'll immediately look at that and understand what's going on there. So that's quite easy to use. So let's go back over to our list here, and we can do this. We're going to do this again. This time there's only 3 things to add up, but you'll still get the value of doing this, especially in a minute when I show you something else. So equals sum, and what's this going to be? This one's going to be from B2, yep, that's in the right place, to B4. Okay, I see the box. This time I'm not even going to close my bracket just to, yeah, I thought it would do it. But don't, you know, I'm just showing you it does work, but it won't always work. So in general, do close your brackets. So great. We've taken our sum, the same formula we've learned, and we put it in there. Now I need to do the same thing for January and the same thing for February. So let's make life a bit easier. Let me copy this formula. I'm going to right click on my box and I'm going to choose copy. There's a whole different ways you can copy things. You could come up here and you could just choose the copy button here, okay? Or you could do the keyboard shortcut. Can you see that this little pop-up that as I hover over it, a pop-up appears and it says Control plus C. It actually says CTRL plus C, but the CTRL, which is on your keyboard, stands for control. It's the control key. So I'm going to do it by, I'll just press this button. Okay, you can see that something's happening because it's all flashing, and then I'm going to, where I want to paste it. So let's just see what happens. So this number says 178 at the moment, and I'm going to paste it. Okay, this time I'm right clicking and I'm choosing the paste option. I'm choosing the first one. You've got all these different ones, but we won't worry about those for the time being today. Now, I just pressed the escape key just to stop that one from flashing for a second. Let's see what's happened here then. So I copied where it said 178 into C5, but now it says 205. Well, let's see what's happened. Let's actually look at the formula. The formula now says C2 colon C4. And what's happening here is Excel's being very clever and very helpful to us. And before, let's go back to this one. This one was B2 to B4 sum, yeah, the sum formula, and the answer was in B5. Okay, and so what we've done is we've taken the answer from B5 and we've put it into C5. And Excel's thinking, well, I see this a lot. I bet what they actually want to do is they actually want to change the sum to add up the cells that are in the C column instead of the ones that are in the B column. And so it's changed it for us. Now we can stop this behaviour from happening, and in future training sessions we'll show you how to stop it. But just for now, note that it will do the right thing that you want it to do, probably 90% of the time. And there's a small 10% chance, case when it doesn't. You might not want it to move, but you still might want to copy a formula. In which case, that's no problem. We'll show you how to get around that. So let's do it again. Let me copy this formula. This time I'm going to do it with the keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to hold down the Control key and tap C. I'm going to come over to D5 and I'm going to hold down the Control key and tap V. And we get 350. Okay? Press the return key there to enter that formula. And that's worked as well. You can see that this is now copying D2 to D4. Okay, so that's great. Okay, so we wrote the formula once here, and then we copied and pasted it twice, and it's done exactly what we wanted it to do. Now I'm just going to hit the delete key on both of these, and I'll just show you what you can actually do, is that you can just do Control C, And now this time I'm going to highlight both these cells, okay? And I'm going to paste both into both these cells. And in one go, it's done the same thing. And it's done it correctly. So in one movement there, I've copied the formula that was in B5 to both C5 and D5. Very, very useful. So we've got a few other words written down here. We've got average, max and min. Okay? Now, let's show you how these formulas work and what they return. So we've summed those, so let's just do a little bit of highlighting. Let's just highlight those just to make them stand out a little bit. And we'll just do a bit of that. So let's just have a look at these other types of formulas that we can do. So here we'll do the average formula. This is referring to the mean, M-E-A-N formula, which is the process of adding them all up and then dividing by the number that there are. So, and you should, after these few formulas, you'll start getting a feel for the way formulas work, and which is really quite a simple process. So again, we're always going to start with equals, and then this time we're going to write the word average. Okay? And then it's like, well, what should I average? Well, exactly as like, what should I sum? We're going to give it the same criteria. We're going to say, I want you to average B2 to B4. Close brackets, be neat and tidy. And the average there is 59.33333. Okay? That might be a little bit more, what's the word? A little bit more accurate than we actually need. So if I come over here to, there's these two buttons, decrease decimal and increase decimal. So let's just decrease this to 2 decimal places. 59.33. Much nicer. Now, shall I show you the magic trick yet? Go on then. I want to now replicate this formula just as I did for the sum formula across January and February. And we've already seen that we can copy and paste it. Okay? Well, the really fun way of doing it, if you look at the box that's surrounding it, the black box, can you see the bottom right-hand corner of that box is a little square, a little black square. It's just slightly highlighted. And if you watch my cursor as it approaches that black square, it turns into a little black cross. Okay, so that's the normal, regular run-of-the-mill cross. When I get to the corner of the square, let me just check something. Yeah, it's only when the cell is highlighted. So look, the bottom left-hand corner does some, it goes to that 4-way square, which we don't really have to worry about at all. But the bottom right-hand corner, we go to this little black square. And all we simply do is we click the mouse down on it, and then we drag it 2 squares to the right, and it copies the formula across to the right. Also notice it's also copied my formatting, and my formatting was to setting it to 2 decimal places. So that's really fast. That's a really nice way of doing things, and that's the way that I think most people, once they get comfortable, really start using it. They just take that, drag it across, boom, done. All right, let's do these maximum and minimum. Well, what do they refer to? Well, they are saying, what's the biggest number? Or what's the smallest number given a selection of numbers? Okay, so again, I'll just stick to Tom, Harry and Jim. I'm going to do a formula, going to start with equals. I'm going to do max here, so I just write the word max. I open my brackets up. Now this time I'm going to use my mouse to do my selections, a bit like I did before. But instead of singly clicking, I'm clicking on B2, I'm holding down, and I'm selecting to B4, and then I'm letting go. And then I'm pressing return. Okay? Notice all these things, these things are optional, by the way. If you're happy typing, I'm just showing you different ways of doing it. Okay? So again, let's do the minimum one. So let's just confirm that A88 is working. So what is the biggest number of these three? Well, the biggest number is 88. Okay, what's the smallest number? It's 40. So let's do the minimum formula. So equals min, open brackets. This time I'll type it. Just, all these different ways work. B2 to B4. Close brackets, press return. And again, we get 40. Okay? This time I'm going to select both my cells, Okay, you can see that there's that dark box around both my cells. I'm going to again go to the bottom right hand corner and I'm going to drag both of them to the right essentially. And what I've done there is very quickly I've copied my maximum formula to both of these cells. So let's just do a visual check. 100, yes, 100 is the biggest number here. Both of these are on 150. And so 150 is my answer there. Okay? And again, the minimum is 50 there, the minimum is 30 there, the minimum is 40 there. 40, 30, 50. So we can see, or we can start developing much faster ways of doing things. How would I do this? I think in reality, let me just delete these. In fact, what I'll do is I won't delete all of them, I'll just delete a bunch of them. So this is what I would do in reality if I wanted to work these things out. I'd type average, I'd do equals average, I'd open my brackets, I think I'd probably select the mouse because I find that quickest and press return. Then here I'd do equals max, open brackets, again select them, hit return, equals min, open brackets, select them, hit return, highlight all three, drag them to the right. Pretty quickly, we've now found out the average, the min, the max for all our data. And you can imagine that this is just 3 months of the year. You can imagine this being 24 months of the year. The whole procedure would take a fraction of a second longer as I dragged it across all of the rows. Got a bit carried away there. As I dragged it across all of the rows I wanted to copy the result to. Very, very quick. Okay, let's just go back to our budget. Now this is something that you might think of doing yourself. I paused it while I sneezed. I thought it might be best. This is something that you might think of doing yourself. So ideas for spreadsheets is certainly something that people are often asking about. So here we've done this. Obviously, this wouldn't be enough. So let me just, so if let me show you something very quickly. This is really good as well. Look. Watch what actually happens here. I just typed it, all I've typed is January. And I did that trick of dragging it across to the right, and Excel is clever enough that it goes, do you know what? Just like it can change the formulas, it goes, I bet you he wants Jan, Feb, March, April, May. Let me undo that. And let me just show you, if this was actually written as January, and I drag it out, look at that, it's now clever enough to write the whole months of the year. Slight formatting issues here. Do the trick that we learned last week. Select A1, double click anywhere. It makes all of the cells as wide as the widest thing in those cells. That's great. So, these numbers will be different from different months. But this is now roughly the sort of size of a spreadsheet, the minimum sort of size we would expect. We've got like 12 headings across the top. We've got, 7 or 8 down the side. So you're looking at 90 different bits of data, or I don't even know if that math was correct. But yeah, in fact, if you look down here, it does automatically counts for us. Can you see in this bottom right hand corner, 96? So I was quite close with 90. So this is the sort of thing we want. And for your first spreadsheet, this is fine. So here, we've done the total outgoings. I'm just going to start playing around with this as well, just to make it look a little bit better. You want some sort of break between incoming and outgoing. We're happy with the formatting, so we'll just leave that on there. So this is pretending that the salary is 1,500. Okay, and so let's do one more formula. So how would we work out? So if these are all our bills coming in, and we've got a total here, if this is how much the person earns in a month, then the resulting amount, their balance left over in their bank to play with after all their bills have spent, is going to be their salary minus their total outgoings. Yeah? So how would we write a formula for that? Well, very much like we did right at the start. So I'm going to say equals. I'm going to use my mouse to click because I quite like doing that. I'm going to say this one, B12, subtract this one, B10. Press return, 198. Now, this is where the magic starts to happen, because actually it turns out that your water bill wasn't £12, it was 14. Press return, and look what happens. The total outgoings went up, your balance went down, everything changed. Okay, let's drag this formula across all of them. There we go. I mean, obviously, anything you produce for us would have, things would vary from month to month. Something like this would look a bit suspicious, it'd be a bit boring as well. Okay, and then this would need all the sort of formatting and things that we applied to our spreadsheet in week 1. Okay, so that's some simple ideas to be getting on with. You could also do rotas. There's all sorts of logging and stock and inventories and things that you can keep track of. What you're best off doing is, if you don't have a natural idea for a spreadsheet and you don't want to do a budget, please bear in mind the budget can be totally fictitious. You know, give yourself the salary that you feel you deserve. So I look forward to doing the next session with you next week. If you've got any ideas that you're unsure about, please speak to your assessor and contact them, and they will advise you on some good ideas. And I think we might be doing graphs next week. Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully we are. Thank you very much. Bye bye.